The war between humanity and the Vierk's dominion had no real beginning. It simply existed, like fire or hunger. By the time Captain Elias Rourke stepped onto the broken streets of Chorus 9, the planet had already changed hands 3 times. What remained was not a city but a skeleton of one. Towers leaned like wounded giants. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and something bitter that came from alien blood. Elias moved carefully, rifle held tight, boots crunching over shattered stone. His helmet visor flickered with damaged data. Most of his squad was somewhere behind him, but explosions and collapsing buildings had torn the formation apart. The radio only hissed when he tried to speak. He was alone. That was not new to him. Elias had been alone before, on frozen moons, burning stations, and drifting wrecks in deep space. Humans had learned to survive that way. The Vierks believed humans were reckless, violent creatures who only understood force. In truth, humans survived because they adapted, because they chose action when others froze. A sharp sound cut through the air, not a weapon discharge, not a Vierk's battle cry. Crying. Elias stopped. His first thought was that it was a trap. The Vierks were known for deception. They used sound, holograms, even wounded bodies to lure enemies in. Every training instinct told him to move on, to stay focused on extraction. The sound came again, thin, broken, afraid. Elias turned toward it before he could stop himself. He moved through a collapsed alley, stepping over twisted metal and cracked stone. The crying grew louder. At the far end, beneath a fallen wall, he saw something small and curled in on itself. It was a Vierk's child. Elias froze. The Vierks were taller than humans, broad and armored by natural plates along their skin. Even their civilians looked dangerous. Their children, however, were different. Smaller, softer. This one had pale blue skin marked with darker lines that glowed faintly. One arm was pinned under debris. Blood, dark and almost black, stained the ground. The child looked up at him. Her eyes were large, faceted, and filled with terror. Elias felt his breath catch. He had seen fear before, on human faces, on alien ones, but this was different. This was the fear of someone who did not understand war, only pain and loss. She made a weak sound, pulling at the rubble trapping her arm. Elias lowered his rifle slowly. "This is insane," he muttered to himself. The Vierks had killed human children. Cities had burned. Worlds had fallen. Every name on the memorial walls screamed at him to turn away, but the child was still crying. Elias stepped closer. He knelt, carefully lifting the broken slab with his armored hands. The stone was heavier than it looked, but adrenaline helped. The child flinched, then went still as her arm came free. She tried to crawl away, dragging herself weakly. "I'm not going to hurt you," Elias said, though he knew she could not understand his words. He kept his voice low, steady, the way medics spoke to wounded soldiers. The ground shook. Elias looked up just as the sky flashed. Incoming fire. Vierk's artillery screamed down from above, targeting what remained of the district. The shells did not care who was human or Vierk's. They only destroyed. Elias did not think, he moved. He lunged forward, wrapping his body around the child, turning his back to the blast. His armored frame curled, arms locked tight, shielding her with everything he had. The explosion hit. Pain tore through him like fire. His armor cracked. Systems failed. The force slammed him into the ground, knocking the air from his lungs. He tasted blood. His vision went white, then dark. For a moment there was nothing. Then sound returned. Distant, muffled. Elias forced his eyes open. Smoke filled the air. His body screamed with pain, but he could still feel his arms. He was still holding the child. She was alive. The rubble around them had been blown away, but his body had taken the worst of it. His armor smoked and sparked. Warning lights flashed inside his visor. He tried to move and failed. Footsteps echoed around them. Heavy, many. Elias knew those sounds. Vierk's warriors. He let out a slow breath. So this was how it ended. He had expected to die on a battlefield, but not like this, not protecting an enemy. The child shifted beneath him, making a soft sound. Elias tightened his arms slightly, more from instinct than thought. The footsteps stopped. A shadow fell over them. Elias forced his head to turn. Through cracked optics, he saw towering figures surrounding them, weapons raised. Vyerk's soldiers, their armor marked with battle sigils and fresh scorch marks. Their faces, sharp, angular, framed by plated ridges, were unreadable to him. One of them raised a weapon. Another stopped him. A deeper presence moved forward. She was taller than the others, her armor darker, adorned with symbols Elias did not recognize. Her eyes glowed a steady silver, not with rage but with something colder, more controlled. The child stirred again. The tall Vyerks inhaled sharply. "My daughter," she said in her own language, her voice vibrating with power. The warriors shifted. Shock rippled through them. Elias understood none of the words, but he understood the tone. This was the child's mother. She knelt slowly, carefully, as if afraid that moving too fast would break something fragile. Her gaze never left the human covering her child. Elias felt his strength fading. His suit was failing fast. He knew he had only moments before unconsciousness claimed him. The Vyerk's matron reached out, stopping just short of touching him. Her claws hovered over his cracked armor, over the blood seeping from beneath it. She looked at him, not at his uniform, not at his insignia, at him. Confusion crossed her features, then disbelief. "Why?" she asked softly, though Elias could not understand the word. Her child reached up, touching Elias' arm with small, shaking fingers. The touch was gentle, trusting. Something in the matron's eyes changed. Around them, the warriors waited. Every one of them expected the order: kill the human, end the anomaly, restore balance. The matron stood. "Do not fire," she said. The words hit the air like a shockwave. Weapons lowered slowly. Elias felt himself slipping. Darkness pressed in at the edges of his vision. The last thing he saw was the Vyerk's matron standing over him, her expression unreadable, her gaze fixed on the human who should have been her enemy. Instead, she said something Elias never expected. "Take him alive." Hands, alien, strong, careful, lifted him from the ground. The child was taken gently from his arms, cradled against her mother's chest. Elias tried to protest, but his voice would not work. As consciousness faded, he felt no fear, only a strange, quiet certainty. He had made the right choice. And somewhere deep in the alien heart of the woman who watched over him, something ancient had been awakened, something that war had not destroyed and hatred could not erase. Elias drifted in and out of awareness. Sound came first, low vibrations, a steady hum that reminded him of a ship's engine. The smell of smoke was gone. In its place was something clean and sharp, like metal after rain. He tried to move and failed. Panic rose, but training held it down. He focused on breathing. His chest hurt, but it rose and fell. That was good, very good. Light filtered through his cracked visor, not battlefield light, controlled, artificial. He was alive. Elias opened his eyes fully. He was lying on a smooth surface, not a medical bed he recognized. The room was wide and curved, built for taller beings. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls. Tubes ran from machines into ports along his damaged armor, feeding power and stabilizing his suit systems. Vyerk's technology. The realization hit him hard. He tried to sit up. Pain flared, sharp and punishing, forcing a groan from his throat. Immediately, movement answered. Figures stepped into view, Vyerks, but not warriors. Their armor was lighter, marked with healer sigils. One raised a hand, emitting a soft tone. The sound vibrated through Elias' skull, and his pain dulled slightly. He stared at them, heart pounding. One of the healers spoke, voice calm but cautious. Elias did not understand the words, but the tone was not hostile. He let himself lie back. Minutes passed, or hours. Time felt strange. Finally, the room changed. The healer stepped aside. She entered. The Vyerk's matron moved with quiet authority. Her presence filled the space without effort. Her armor was gone now, replaced by ceremonial robes that flowed over her plated frame. Her silver eyes fixed on Elia's, sharp and searching. This was her ship. This was her domain. Elias forced himself to meet her gaze. Neither spoke. For a long moment they simply looked at each other, two beings from enemy species, bound by an act neither fully understood. She broke the silence first, speaking slowly. A device at her throat shimmered, adjusting frequencies. When she spoke again, the words came through in rough but clear human language. "Human, you live." Elias swallowed. "Seems that way." The matron studied him, then inclined her head slightly. "I am Sarilith, High Matron of the Viewer's Dominion, mother of the child you protected." Elias exhaled slowly. "Elias Rourke, Captain, Human Expeditionary Forces." Her gaze flicked to the insignia on his chest, then back to his eyes. "You are an enemy." "Yes," Elias said simply. "You chose pain and possible death to shield my offspring," Sarilith said. "Explain." He hesitated. Not because he lacked an answer, but because the truth felt too simple. "She was hurt," he said. "She was scared. I couldn't just leave her." Sarilith's eyes narrowed slightly. "You knew she was Vierk's." "Yes." "You knew our kind has killed your young, burned your worlds." "Yes." "Then why?" Elias met her gaze. "Because she's a child." The translator carried the words perfectly. The room went very still. Sarilith straightened, her posture rigid. For a moment, Elias wondered if he had said the wrong thing, if honesty had sealed his fate. Instead, something subtle shifted in her expression. Confusion, then something deeper. Among the Vierks, children were sacred, but only their own. Compassion for outsiders was considered weakness, even betrayal. The galaxy had learned to fear them because they feared nothing themselves. And yet, here lay a human who had acted without hesitation. Sarilith turned away, pacing slowly. "Your kind confounds us," she said. "You wage war with ferocity, yet show mercy where none is required." Elias gave a weak smile. "We're complicated." A faint sound escaped her, almost a laugh, almost. She faced him again. "By ancient law, one who saves the life of a Vierk's child becomes bound by life. Their fate is tied to the child's house. This law predates our empire." Elias frowned. "I didn't know that." "That does not matter," she replied. "The law binds intent, not knowledge." The weight of her words settled over him. "What does that mean for me?" he asked. "It means," Sarilith said carefully, "that your life is under my protection." Elias stared. "Protection? You will not be harmed, you will not be executed. Any who attempt such will answer to me." He let out a shaky breath. "Your people won't like that." "They already do not," she said. As if summoned by her words, the ship trembled slightly. Distant alarms echoed, muted but persistent. Sarilith's eyes hardened. "There are those who believe your survival is an insult, that your act shames us." "And you?" Elias asked. She looked at him for a long time. "I believe," she said slowly, "that your act challenges us." The alarm ceased. Silence returned. Elias' strength faded again. The healers adjusted their machines, steadying him. Before leaving, Sarilith paused at the doorway. "My daughter lives," she said. "She asks about you." Elias blinked. "She remembers me. She remembers warmth." "Safety," Sarilith replied. "She does not know your species, only that you did not let her die." When she left, Elias closed his eyes. He did not know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew the war had already changed. News spread quickly through the Vierk's ship, faster than orders, faster than reason. A human had shielded a Vierk's child. Some whispered that it was a trick, a ploy. Others called it madness. A few called it heresy. In the lower decks, warriors argued openly. Some demanded Elias be thrown into space. Others feared the ancient law too deeply to defy it. Among the human fleet, silence answered Elias' last transmission. His signal had vanished after the explosion. Command listed him as missing, presumed dead. When fragments of intercepted Vierk's chatter reached them, confusion followed. A human captive, alive, protected, admirals argued, Politicians panicked. Weapons were readied. Back aboard the Vierk's vessel, Elias recovered slowly. His armor was removed piece by piece, revealing injuries that would have killed an unaugmented human. Vierk's medicine was strange but effective. Pain came and went like waves. He was allowed to walk under guard, not chains, escorts. The child watched him once from across a wide hall. She clung to Sarilith's side, eyes bright with curiosity instead of fear. When Elias noticed her, he stopped. Slowly, he raised his hand. She hesitated, then lifted hers in return, copying the gesture. Sarilith watched in silence. That moment sealed something she could not undo. Days passed. Then the attempt came. It happened during a routine transfer between decks. The lights dimmed. Power surged. A group of armored Vierks stepped from the shadows, weapons raised not at Elias but at the guards. The first guard fell. The second turned, stunned. Elias reacted without thinking. He tackled the injured guard out of the line of fire, dragging him behind a bulkhead. Shots scorched the wall where they had stood. The attackers advanced. "Stay down," Elias shouted, though they could not understand him. One of the attackers raised a blade. A smaller shape appeared behind Elias, the child. She had followed him. Her eyes widened as she saw the weapons. Elias turned just in time. He stepped forward, placing himself between her and the attackers, arms spread. The blade struck his shoulder, glancing off reinforced bone. Pain exploded, but he did not fall. The corridor filled with sound, guards rushing in, weapons firing. The attackers were cut down within seconds. When it was over, Elias sank to one knee. The child pressed against his side, shaking. Sarilith arrived moments later. She took in the scene, the fallen traitors, the wounded guard, her unharmed child clinging to a bleeding human. Her voice carried across the corridor, cold and absolute. "Enough!" She turned to the assembled warriors. "This human has twice chosen her life over his own," she said. "He is no enemy," she faced Elias. "From this moment," Sarilith declared, "you are claimed under my house. Lifekin, to harm you is to defy me." The ship went silent. Elias looked up at her, blood running down his arm. "Guess I'm hard to get rid of," he said weakly. Sarilith extended her hand, not in command but in acknowledgement. "Perhaps," she said, "you were never meant to be." The ship did not feel the same after that day. Elias noticed it first in the small things. Vierk's warriors no longer avoided his path. Some watched him with open curiosity, others with discomfort, a few with something close to respect. No one raised a weapon when he passed. No one touched him without reason. He was still a prisoner, but he was also something else. Lifekin. The title spread through the Dominion faster than Sarilith expected. Ancient words carried weight. Even those who hated humans feared the old laws more. Elias healed slowly. His body was strong, but the damage had been deep. Vierk's healers worked with patience, adjusting treatments to human biology. They asked questions. Elias answered when he could. He learned small pieces of their language in return. He learned the child's name, Kira. She followed him whenever she was allowed, staying just close enough to feel safe. She did not speak human words, but she did not need to. Her presence said enough. Sarilith watched them often. She did not interfere. The human fleet arrived 3 cycles later. Dozens of ships emerged at the edge of the system, weapons charged, shields raised. Humanity had come prepared for blood. On the bridge of the Vierk's flagship, alarms echoed softly as sensors tracked the fleet's movements. "They believe you are held against your will," Sarilith said, standing beside Elias at the viewing screen. "Can't blame them," Elias replied. "Last they heard, I disappeared in a firestorm." "They demand your return," she continued, "or they will attack." Elias sighed. "And your people? They demand your death," she said calmly, "or they will revolt." He looked at her. "That's a bad position." "Yes," she agreed, "which is why you must speak." Elias blinked. "Me? You are the point where both sides break," Sarilith said. "You are human. You are lifekin. You are proof that this war is not absolute." He stared at the stars beyond the glass. "I'm just a soldier." "You are a symbol," she corrected, "whether you wish it or not." A meeting was arranged. Neutral space, shields lowered but active. Weapons powered down but ready. Human admirals appeared on one side of the projection chamber, Vyerk's leaders on the other. Tension filled the air like a held breath. Elias stood between them. Gasps rippled through the human delegation. "Captain Rourke," one admiral said. "You're alive?" "Yes, sir," Elias replied. "Step away from them," another ordered. "They're manipulating you." Sarilith did not move. Elias raised a hand. "They're not." The humans froze. "She saved me," Elias continued. "And I saved her child twice. I'm here because neither of us chose hatred when it was easy." A murmur spread. One Vyerk's elder hissed in protest. "He speaks lies." Sarilith silenced him with a glance. Elias took a breath. "This war started because we saw each other as monsters. I won't pretend the pain isn't real. I won't pretend we didn't kill each other's people." He looked at the human side. "But if I can stand here alive, protected by the enemy I was told to hate, then this war isn't the only future." Silence followed. Kira stepped forward then, small and unafraid. She took Elias' hand. The image burned itself into every screen. A Vyerk's child, a human soldier together. Something broke. Not ships, not weapons, beliefs. The meeting did not end the war that day, but it changed its direction. Ceasefires followed, then talks, then pauses that stretched longer each time. Elias remained with Sarilith's house for a while longer by choice. He became a bridge explaining human ways to Vyerk's leaders and Vyerk's honor to human commanders. He was never fully one or the other. He was both. Years later, long after the shooting stopped, stories spread across the galaxy. They did not speak first of fleets or victories. They spoke of a man who saw a crying child in the ruins of an enemy city, a man who chose to shield instead of strike. A choice that rewrote history. Humanity became known not just for its strength but for its courage to care. And whenever Kira was asked why peace existed where war once lived, she gave a simple answer, learned long ago. He did not look away.